What's going on YouTube? So when it comes to German automakers, they tend to match each other very closely. That's why when BMW released the all-new 3-row X7 earlier this year, you already knew that Mercedes would surely be hot on its heels with their all-new GLS. But now that they are both out, the question remains, who has executed better overall? Without further ado, let's find out. The first thing on the agenda is pricing and equipment. Now the equipment level of these two vary more than we usually like. So for fairness sake, we will still mention a few features that may not actually be equipped. We will be viewing these models as both having $15,000 of options over the base price, which is pretty close to fully loaded. All told, they are priced virtually identically. So beginning things here with the exteriors, these two could honestly not look more different from each other than they do. About the only thing they share are very similar dimensions of over 200 inches in length. But outside that, they operate on very different design themes. BMW has chosen the bolder route with large and in-your-face kidney grills, accented by slender LED lights, while Mercedes chose the classic grille design and full LED lights that are more normal looking. Both these models are of the luxury design themes, however the BMW still looks sportier thanks to its more aggressive side body lines and rear design. But overall, it's definitely going to be subjective whether you prefer the more conservative and classy look or a bolder design, which is why I'm not going to award any points here. Both of them have 21-inch alloys, however the X7s are painted black, which also contributes to that bolder design. Now moving past the design choices, both crossovers are loaded with features, like the standard height adjustable air suspension. For the mirrors, both have every feature that can possibly be thrown at them, including blind spot monitoring on the safety front. Now as far as all your other safety features, as you would expect, these have some of the most advanced safety features available in the entire industry. So in addition to your usual forward emergency braking, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and auto high beam headlights, both also come equipped with low-speed autonomous highway systems to take the stress off the driver. Next we have the warranties, which are both 4-year 50,000 mile for basic and powertrain, but Mercedes does not do complimentary maintenance at all, while BMW does 3 years. And finally, in regards to the maximum towing, the two are very close to each other at 7,500 and 7,700 pounds in the GLS, which is below our 5% point threshold. But that pretty much wraps up the exteriors. So now let's see which cabin spoils the passengers the most. So walking up to the vehicles, both are obviously going to have smart entry systems, but you'll notice on the BMW we have the optional display key. While it is cool, realistically all the features it gives you are also in BMW's and Mercedes' respective applications. Now checking out the interiors, they are vastly different just like the exteriors. On the Mercedes we have a clean design finished in black leather and accented by real gray linden wood. Our BMW on the other hand has a much more colorful cabin featuring cognac vernasca leather and high gloss walnut wood trim. As far as the seats themselves, both have more ways of adjustment than one can count, plus heating, ventilation, and massaging. Beyond the seats, both interiors offer absolutely amazing material selections. On the GLS, we have a leather-covered dashboard, and then we have generous use of the wood all through the middle portions. And of course, all the lower areas are also covered in leather. The BMW also features a full leather upper dash, and through the middle there is generous use of real wood and aluminum. The two are pretty much the same, however the X7 will get the edge for having the uber luxurious touch of all glass controls. As you can see, both come with fully customizable digital gauges. However, the new MBUX system has the edge here, since it allows for a lot more customizability inside of 3 different sections. Of course, it pretty much goes without saying that both have power adjusting, heated and leather wrapped steering wheels, complete with paddle shifters on the back and rain sensing wiper controls. Now, Mercedes and BMW are known for liking to match each other very closely, and indeed with the storage, it looks like they follow the same template. They both have wireless phone charging, USB Type-C ports, and heated and cooled cup holders. Heading to the shifters, both have electronic ones, but in totally different locations. And when in reverse, both will pull up 360-degree camera systems. That being said, BMW's system has an extra trick up its sleeve, since it has the ability to go into a drone-like view and spin around the vehicle. And now that brings us to our audio systems. So let's take a sample. Overall, both these sound systems sound fantastic. Now the next thing to look at are the climate controls. I like that both are controlled via physical knobs almost exclusively, besides for a few extra functions like the fragrance systems. The one problem with the X7 though is that the buttons it uses are very small, especially to adjust the temperature up and down, which is why the GLS is a little bit better here. Another small ergonomic nitpick is that the X7 seat heating and ventilation share the same button, thus requiring you press a second virtual button. But now that brings us to the brand's brand new infotainment systems. First off, these are very complicated systems, so we will just be looking at the surface details. With the new iDrive 7.0 system, you have a 12.3-inch display that can be controlled 4 different ways: the touchscreen, controller knob, gesture, or through the advanced voice assistant. The all-new MBUX system in the GLS also has a 12.3-inch display, and it can be controlled in the same ways. Beyond the standard navigation systems, with the Mercedes you have standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, while BMW only has Apple CarPlay, and BMW also makes you pay a subscription to keep Apple CarPlay after the first year. That being said though, the X7's CarPlay system can run wirelessly, which is something Mercedes has not rolled out yet. Finally, ending the front, both have giant panoramic sunroofs. Now checking out the rear seats, we don't have exact dimensions for both of them, but they do feel pretty much the same. Both seats are actually power adjusting, but our Mercedes does not have the optional seat heating. Digging into the rear features, both have power sunshades, as well as 2 more zones of climate and vents in the center and on the pillar. Both also have 2 USB ports, but the GLS also throws in a household outlet. Now moving back to the third row, both have fully automated seat folding processes, which we did totally mess up on the BMW, but rest assured it does work. Legroom once again is roughly even, and we're looking at the same kind of amenities with vents and USB ports. The BMW has the advantage though, because as equipped, it has both a 5th zone of climate and heated 3rd row seats. Plus, BMW also throws in a special moonroof for just the 3rd row. Now moving on to utility, we don't have full measurements for every single configuration. But as far as maximum cargo volume, the X7 does have the edge with 90.4 cubic feet versus 84.7 cubic feet. Alright, so we still have a close race, so now let's get under the hoods and see how they drive. So heading out onto the road in these two, you'll find that they have two very different ways of coming to similar results. BMW uses a traditional setup with a 3-liter turbo inline-6, while Mercedes also uses a 3-liter inline-6, but with an extra mild hybrid component. This gives it more horsepower at 365 versus 335 horsepower in the X7, and a similar advantage for torque as well. Alright, so we just got a little short initial takeoff here in the GLS, but power is definitely feels really good right from the start there.
Remarkably good.
Power feels really good. That was kind of like a I don't know what you want to call it, rolling start. But yeah, you don't find this engine flat anywhere. The power is available to you as you need it. So first taking off in the BMW X7, I have to say, definitely is impressive how it takes off. I was not even pressing the throttle very much at all, as a matter of fact, and it really has a lot of grunt for sure, right off the line. Both put down power through extremely smooth shifting 8 and 9-speed automatic transmissions and advanced all-wheel drive systems. But one important drivetrain difference is the GLS's ability to have an advanced auto start-stop system, thanks to that mild hybrid setup. Because of this, it can engage more frequently, operate with uncanny smoothness, and even go into a coasting mode before stopping. Alright, now if you're paying attention, you will notice that the auto start stop engages before you come to a complete stop. That's what I was talking about in the powertrain, where I was talking about the advanced auto start stop system. This basically has a coasting ability. So as you come to a stop, you're coasting down, the engine powers off. And it powers off when it's not needed, and that's because it has the battery power to go off of. Now, that does save fuel, but it's tremendously smooth.
Yeah.
It all just works together in a way that you can't feel it. And by having the engine turn off while you're still even in motion, it just blends it seamlessly. And then when I take back off, I'm going to start, the battery power is going to be the first thing that kicks in.
Yeah, we talked extensively about this in the GLE review, and like Drew mentioned, this is the same powertrain. I seriously hold that as the best auto start stop system in the entire automotive industry, and the same is true here.
I mean, you just don't feel anything. It's hard to describe how good it is. You may have experienced different types of auto start stop systems in vehicles that you own or have ridden in. Really, until you experience this setup here in this GLS and the GLE, you can't really understand how smooth it is. Like, it is truly imperceptible. As far as driving dynamics are concerned, as you would expect, the BMW has more of a sport emphasis. It is surprisingly buttoned down feeling when rounding corners, and the steering is definitely more dialed in than the GLS. rounding that corner there, you can immediately tell just how good the handling is.
Yeah.
This is a huge vehicle, so I obviously don't expect it to drive like a exotic sports car or anything, but boy, it feels surprisingly buttoned down for something so big. You know, usually when you get in a vehicle like this, it's a big lumbering, you know, monstrosity. But I have to say, this definitely has a much more manageable feel than I expected.
Yeah, it honestly, riding along even in the passenger seat, you can tell the huge difference like between this and an Escalade, even though they are technically competitors. The Escalade is just a big vehicle, and well, this car does not feel nearly as big, and it, like you said, it doesn't have the body roll or anything that that car does.
But I mean, it actually feels surprisingly agile. For its size, the steering is really quite responsive. As you can see, it responds really fast for something so big, and it really doesn't have just a touch of numbness. Of course, the steering is on the lighter side. That's not to say that the GLS is sloppy, since it definitely is not. It's just to say that it's more luxury focused, which is also why its ride is softer and outrageously comfortable.
You know, I'm just kind of trying to take this in for a second because, you know, we're cruising down 45 miles an hour, and I mean, almost no cars on the market have like the level of isolation that I feel right now. I feel like I am completely isolated from everyone and everything around me. Like, I can't hear a car.
Yeah, do you hear anything?
I mean,
there's no traffic. A helicopter went over just a second ago. Couldn't hear it. You could just see it. Couldn't hear it. And finally, the last thing to mention is the fuel economy. Oddly enough, the mild hybrid GLS actually comes in a little bit below the X7 at 21 combined versus 22 combined, though that's not a big enough difference for a point. Well guys, that's where we're going to finish up this comparison video. As you can probably tell, these two crossovers do an outstanding job at delivering the full flagship experience. At the end of the day, what it's really going to boil down to is personal taste. So make sure you check them both out in person before making a buying decision. Anyways, thanks for joining us on another Car Confections comparison, and be sure to subscribe for more comparisons and our signature full review videos. Take care.